Welcome. This is a video that I've been meaning to do for a while. It's a video that I wish I could have watched before we bought our first motorhome. So I thought, you know what? I'll do one. I'll explain why in a bit. So we've camped for a long time. We've had tents for years, and then we kind of progressed, if that's the right phrase, to a campervan. A Volkswagen T5 Transporter with an awning on the side, you know, the usual thing inside with the cupboards with the cooker and the sink and the rock and roll bed and the seats that spin round in the front. Then when we had our second little boy, you felt, well, it's a little bit claustrophobic in there now. It's just not as much space as we needed or we'd like. So we then sort of upgraded to essentially a Volkswagen California. Popped up, seats that could move forwards and backwards on rails that made the bed. That was great. Seats that spin round in the front. So all of a sudden you're going, well, there's four of us and there are four sort of two double beds, so four people can sleep, and that's great. But then you do kind of still have that awning on the side, which is great, and I know lots of people are more than happy with that. But we were camping one weekend and the weather wasn't particularly nice, and we just turned up and I had to put up the awning and pop top and sort of get the camp ready, if you like. And a guy pulled up next to us in a motorhome, and he literally got out of the driver's seat, walked to the back, plugged his motorhome in and went, right, I'll put the kettle on. And I just looked at my partner and I said, that's what we need. That is so much easier. So we kind of looked at the lower end of the motorhome market, and then you kind of went, oh, do you know, if we spent this much more money, then we could have this, and then if we did this, we'd get this. And all of a sudden you find that not everybody, I appreciate, but we, you know, circumstances meant that we could then look at a new motorhome, which we did. And the lower end, I hasten to add, the lower end of the kind of scale when it comes to new motorhomes, because they are very expensive. And you could spend, you know, over £100,000 on a motorhome. We were never going to do that. And that's the idea behind this now, because when you're looking around, you go to places and you see things and you walk in, and whatever you've had before probably isn't as good as what you're looking at buying. So anything that's in there, you're instantly blown away by. It's like, you know, if your seats have never spun round, the majority of motorhome seats, driver's seat, passenger seat, they now turn round. So just that alone, you go, wow, look at that. Yeah, they all sort of do that. But then you go, look at this fridge. You know, we've had a cool box for years. There's a fridge that's as big as the fridge in our house. And so these things happen and they kind of take over, and you start thinking that, you know, it's very easy. Not everybody, but it's very easy to start going, that's what I need. We need that big fridge. And look at that microwave. How have we been camping for 12 years without a microwave? So you do all these things anyway, and then you look at layouts and what works for you. And we decided that we quite like a bed that would be made up for the kids, and then a bed that would be in a bedroom, if you like, or a permanent bed for us. And so we started looking at those, and then it was pointed out by a salesperson. And the lady said, oh, where are you going in the motorhome? And these are the kind of things that I want to get across in what I'm doing. So we said, probably the UK, but, you know, we might go abroad, because I think that's what everyone feels they've got to say when they buy a motorhome. We might go to Spain and France and Italy, and we never did. But we said, we want a fixed bed. And the lady said, why? I said, well, because, you know, when you come in and you're tired and you just fall on the bed and go to sleep. She said, yeah, but in the UK, the weather's not really very nice that often. I mean, to be fair, it's been relatively decent summers for the last couple of years, but we took on board what she meant. She said, look, you know, there's every chance that you're going to be sitting in it for the daytime. If you're abroad, brilliant. Go out for the day, do all your things, come home at night, maybe make yourself some food, then crash on the bed. Absolutely right. In the UK, slightly different. Sit in your motorhome in the day, looking out of the windows because it's raining. She said you'd probably be better off with, rather than a fixed bed, which is permanently a bed. And as was pointed out, and I do agree with it, if you have a bed that's already there and already made up, it kind of takes up a lot of space and probably isn't going to get used. So the point was made that in the UK, people probably would use lounge areas, kitchen areas, more than they would a bed. So we were kind of told about different sort of variations of what might go up, how things might work. And one of the things that we discovered was that, you know, there are these where your seating area then becomes a bed. And you kind of go, that's great. So the one that we looked at, the van that we looked at, and like I said, this isn't about manufacturers. This isn't about having a go at people for build quality or anything like that, or maybe a little bit. But I just think it's important that people think about how they're going to use the van before they buy it, because we thought, lounge area, they'll make beds, a bed that drops down out of the ceiling, that rattles, by the way. Oh, it's ridiculous. And also, when the bed drops down, it's about 2 foot from the ceiling. So, if you're a 5-year-old, yeah, you can get on there and jump around, do whatever. If you're an adult, you can't sit up in bed and read or anything. It's like literally it's like being on a submarine. Slide yourself into there, and then there's enough room to sleep, but very little else. Don't ever think you're sitting up and reading in bed, because you're not. But that's by the by. So we saw these 2 lounge areas anyway, and the one at the back, very simple. Between the 2 kind of seats around the kitchen table, little thing pulled out, cushions went on that, made a nice bed, a big bed. Used that loads. To be honest, the build quality, and I know I said I wouldn't go on about build quality, but the build quality of it wasn't great. Too many bits of plastic. And the first time that one of your children jumps on the bed, like children do, you see a bed, jump on it, you just heard things crack, and you just thought, and they all use, so many of the manufacturers use these things, and you just went, that's not really that sturdy. But it was okay. The bed at the front, oh my word, what a nightmare that was. So many bits of cushions that you had to assemble in the right place, and you had to drop this bit in and that bit in and fold this bit over. And you came in at night with tired, hungry children when you'd been on the beach all day. And then they go, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed. And you literally have to sit them down and go, just give us a couple of hours just to assemble this monstrosity. Then when it was assembled, I spotted within the first couple of months of us using it, if that bed was designed for 2 adults, it didn't work. And that was proven. It was just not substantial enough. And it didn't work because one night it just fell apart. And so we just wrote it off and said, right, forget about that bed now. Because we were fortunate, we didn't really need it. But if you bought a 6-berth motorhome to sleep 6 people, and all of a sudden you're going, that bed is dreadful. The idea is there, but it doesn't work. You would be heartbroken, because all of a sudden your 6-berth motorhome now can only sleep 4 people. So that's why I wanted to do this, because I think when you go to a showroom, treat it like it's your own. If you've got kids who run and jump on beds, make the beds, go jump on the beds. Because if it breaks, you go, that's not very strong, is it? And then you walk out and it's not your problem. And I don't mean go destroying things, but if it's not fit for purpose, it's not fit for purpose. So we just had lots of things like that. And it genuinely isn't about build quality. It isn't about, have a go at this manufacturer, or have a go at, this particular type of motorhome. Go on a forum, look at that. Like I said, the number of angry people on forums who just will tell you to buy British or don't buy British is what they all say. But, each to their own. Don't buy British, buy French, buy German. But no, the people just arguing amongst themselves. And it's only because they're raw, because something's happened. And that's how they vent their frustration. I understand that. We've all been there. But I just think it's more important that if you are buying a motorhome, go and actually physically experience it. Walking in and seeing something and going, look at the big fridge. It's a massive fridge. Oh, look, there's a nice telly could go there. Or look at the big windows, or look at the blinds and what. Just think about everything. Look at where the plugs are so they work for you or don't work for you. Make the beds. Make that bed. Make that bed. Look at the storage. If there's a locker, look at the locker. Because so many people buy a motorhome. And I don't have all the answers, by the way. And this is only my opinion. And there will be people who watch this and go, he's talking nonsense. We didn't ever hate our motorhome, but we found frustrations. And, I went in thinking that I had checked every single thing. If you're spending a lot of money, road test it. Just go and do it. A lot of people who have big storage lockers, massive storage lockers, which we didn't have in ours. We didn't need it. It's always useful, don't get me wrong. And if you need it, then you need it. But bear in mind that they can only hold so much weight. It's great if you've got, you know, something the size of a shipping container at the back of the motorhome. But if all you can put in is the weight of 2 bikes and then you're overloaded, what a waste of space. I'm just saying, think about those things, because we didn't, and we learned by having it, and we got over things. But I just think if you're investing a lot of money in a motorhome, you shouldn't really be getting over things. And even if there are some compromises that you have to make, try everything beforehand and then you choose those compromises. You know, if you go, listen, we can't really have that as much as we'd like it, but we can have that. Work out which one you want the most, you know. But I say I would make, if I swapped the motorhome or bought a different motorhome or whatever, went with someone to buy a motorhome. Not that I'm an expert, by the way, I'm not, far from it. I'm just a person with a motorhome. But I would, honestly, I'd go, right, we're not going anywhere till we've made that bed, and we've made that bed. And if the person who was selling it went, you can't do that, just walk away. Because you need to know how those things work. And the first time we, like I said, the first time we did things, we'd go, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for us like that. And there will be frustrations, but at least then you're aware of it. So that basically, you know, is, I just wanted to have this conversation and hope that it helps, because many people will give you advice, but I hope that it hasn't come across like this, but a lot of people will give you advice, but it will be, what you need to do is, you need to get one with a, or you need to get one with a, no, you need to get what you need to get for you. It's your motorhome. But there are so many things that you get sort of swept up in the emotion of buying a motorhome and the excitement of buying a motorhome, that you kind of, you forget how it's got to be used, you know. And the reason I was sort of prompted to do this, whatever it is, by, thank you for taking part, by the way. But but a friend of mine said, look, you've got a motorhome. I'm going to buy one. What shall I buy? I said, well, I don't know. What do you want to do with it? And he said, well, you know, we want a fixed bed. That's what we want. And we want this, that, and the other. And I just passed on the information, the advice that I was given. And I said, where are you going? And they went, Scotland. I said, okay, fair enough. Well, you know, it's probably going to be cold, and you've got a bed that's taking up a lot of room. Exactly the same advice I sort of gave. And the guy who bought this motorhome, he had it for 6 weeks. And I saw him, I said, how are you getting on with the motorhome? And he said, oh, he sold it. I said, you sold it after 6 weeks. Did you not like motorhome? He said, no, we loved it. He said, but that big bed that we had just took up too much room. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they didn't make it to Scotland. I think they went to Wales. And he just said, we sat in it one rainy day and realised that you were right. And I said, no, it's not. I wasn't right. I'm just passing on the advice that I was given. And that was what happened. And so we bought one where, again, I'd given him the advice where, you know, if your dining area turns into a bed or your lounge turns into a bed, do it, make sure that it's easy, which he actually did. He went, right, this is what I've been told, Chet, and he made it. And now he lost a few quid, don't get me wrong, because you can't buy a motorhome, own it for 6 weeks and then sell it and not lose money, sadly. But anyway, he did. But now he's got the motorhome that he absolutely loves. So I hope it's been of some use to you. I don't want to come across as someone who's telling you what to buy or what to do. Buy whatever you want, but I think it's important that you try everything and make sure that little tick list that you have, you know, it at least work through that. And I mean, really work through it. So I hope it's been some use anyway. Thank you for your time. This is Out and About UK. Feel free to subscribe, pass this information on to anybody else who you may know who may be buying a motorhome or a campervan or whatever. And the important thing is you've got to enjoy them, because that's what they're there for. Thanks for watching.